In 1997, scientists recorded a sound so powerful that it traveled thousands of miles through the ocean. For years, people believed it could only have come from a gigantic creature hiding in the deep. But that was just one sound. Scientists have recorded at least 5 more underwater signals that sound even stranger. Some have explanations, others still raise questions. In this video, we are going deep beneath the ocean to examine 6 disturbing sounds recorded by underwater listening systems. We will separate fact from internet myths, identify the sounds scientists can explain, and look at the signals whose origins remain uncertain. Because an unexplained sound is not automatically a sea monster. Sometimes the real explanation is even more surprising. The first sound is the most famous one, the bloop. In 1997, underwater sensors detected an extremely powerful, ultra-low frequency signal in the Pacific Ocean. When the sound was converted into a form humans could hear, it sounded like a deep, rising roar. The signal was so powerful that the internet immediately created a theory. Some people believed it came from an enormous, unknown creature, larger than any whale. But the sound itself was never proof of a living animal. NOAA later compared the bloop with recordings of Antarctic icequakes. The result pointed toward a massive iceberg cracking and breaking away from an Antarctic glacier. So the bloop is not a monster call. It is a powerful example of how ice can create sounds that travel enormous distances through the ocean. The mystery became famous because people heard the sound before they understood the science. The second sound is called upsweep. Unlike the bloop, upsweep is not one single dramatic blast. It is a series of narrow-band sounds that rise in pitch. Scientists first noticed this signal in the early 1990s, and similar sounds appeared repeatedly in later recordings. The signal was strong enough to travel through the deep ocean, but its exact origin has not been confirmed. Possible explanations include underwater volcanic activity, movement along the seafloor, or another natural process. But possible is not the same as proven. This is where responsible investigation matters. The internet often turns uncertainty into a conclusion. If scientists say, "We have not identified the source," the internet sometimes translates that into, "Scientists found a monster." Those are not the same statement. Upsweep remains interesting precisely because the data is real, the pattern is repeatable, and the final answer is still incomplete. The third sound is known as slow down. The name comes from the way the signal changes. It begins at a higher frequency and gradually slows down over several minutes. When played back, it can sound like something enormous moving through the water and then coming to a stop. That is where imagination takes over. But underwater sounds can change as they travel. Ice movement, friction, shifting geological structures, and large natural events can all produce signals that change in frequency. The sound may feel like a story, but a waveform is not a photograph. It cannot tell us whether the source was alive, how large it was, or how it moved. It only gives us clues, and sometimes those clues are not enough to reach a final answer. The fourth sound is called whistle. It is very different from the bloop. Instead of a deep roar, it has a cleaner, more focused tone. It almost sounds like someone is whistling from inside the ocean. But sound alone cannot identify its source. A marine animal, geological movement, equipment interference, or another natural process could create a similar signal. To identify a sound, scientists need more than an interesting audio clip. They need location data. They need repeated recordings. They need to compare the signal with known, natural, and biological sounds. Without that evidence, calling it a sea monster is not an investigation. It is only a guess. And whistle reminds us how little information a single record. The fifth sound is known as train. It received this name because its repeating pattern can sound like a distant train moving through darkness. But the name is only a description. It does not tell us what created the signal. Underwater sound can travel across huge distances through channels in the ocean. That means a signal recorded by a sensor may have started far away, in a completely different environment. The source could be geological. It could be related to ice. It could be caused by human activity. This is one reason the deep ocean is so difficult to study. Scientists are not simply listening to a quiet room. They are listening to an entire planet moving beneath the waves. The sixth sound may be the most emotional one. It is associated with a whale that produces a call near 52 Hz. The signal was first detected in 1989, and its frequency was different from the calls commonly associated with many other whales. The media gave this animal a dramatic nickname, but that description is not scientifically proven. We do not know whether the whale was truly alone. We do not know whether other whales could hear it. What we do know is that the signal was unusual enough to attract years of attention. An unusual sound does not need a tragic story to matter. So, are there unknown creatures living in the deep ocean? Possibly. Scientists have not discovered every species beneath the waves. But none of these recordings, by themselves, prove the existence of a giant sea monster. The bloop has a strong icequake explanation. Upsweep remains unresolved. And the 52 Hz whale is a real biological mystery, but not proof that the animal was alone. The important lesson is this: mystery is not the opposite of science. Mystery is where investigation begins. The mistake is not asking whether a monster exists. The mistake is deciding that it exists before checking the evidence. The deep ocean is not silent. It cracks, it shifts, it moves, and sometimes it sends signals we do not immediately understand. Some of those signals eventually receive a scientific explanation. Others remain open questions because the ocean is difficult to observe, difficult to map, and even harder to hear clearly. So which sound interests you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you want more evidence-based investigations into the strange world beneath the waves, subscribe to Abyss Files. Because in the deep ocean, not every mystery is a monster, but every mystery begins with a